Hey gang, it is Azzas back with my third video with the Vigilance 232.7 spec. This video is the odds and ends, kind of all the little in-between stuff that no one really talks about, but I think is actually pretty important. So I'm going to talk about a bunch of things here, watch some videos to support it with some PvP action. In this spec, this 232.7 spec, I want to talk about your managing focus. Now, I do not pick up Victory Rush, which gives you extra focus, or narrowed focus. The reason I don't do that is, quite frankly, you do not need it with this. Your Defiance is going to give you 4 focus every time you're slept, stunned, knocked down. That's a focus generator. Your Stance is going to give you 1 focus every 6 seconds. When you take damage, you spend a move that costs focus, you get 1 focus back. Alright, so those are your focus generators. And then also you have this ability called Combat Focus. Once a minute, use it, you get 6 focus back for free. It's awesome. Okay, and then in between, when you need focus, Thunder Strike, Melee, you get 2 focus each. In this spec, it takes a little bit of thought process and playing. You just can't go in balls to the wall and just hitting moves. You got to think about your rotation a little bit. I do not use Riposte or Slash in my rotation, basically because Riposte costs 3 focus, guaranteed hit. It's only going to hit for about 800 damage, not that much. Slash is going to hit for about 1100, non-crit, 3 focus. For 1 more focus, you can do Overhead Slash to basically double that damage. Alright, Riposte is better for the defense tree, Slash is modified by the focus tree. These are in-between moves, okay? For fillers, very situational. Focus capped, I just got to burn them down quick, everything's on cooldown, that's when I tend to use it. But do not use Slash and Riposte for all intent purposes. Your spec is mainly focused on Master Strike, Overhead Slash, Dispatch, and Plasma Brand. That's your main focus when you're in this spec, what you're trying to accomplish. High focus cost for high damage return. Now, Blaze Storm is also very good too and notable, but I really don't consider that part of my main rotation that I'm focusing on doing. Alright. I always too like to prioritize Sundering Strike over Melee just to ensure I can get a Plasma Brand on them as well. And remember, 4 sweeps free and it gives you 1 focus every time you use it. So technically it's a focus builder. Your rotation, to correct from my first video, it should actually be you Saber Throw, you get 3 focus, you Force Sleep, you're at 6 focus, full Master Strike. You might be getting hit in between here to generate focus, but we'll assume that you're not. From there, you're going to go ahead and Plasma Brand. I like to do that first to get that long dot on them. You go down to 1 focus, you get 1 back, you're at 2 focus. Sundering Strike, you're at 4 focus. Overhead Slash, 0 focus, you get 1 back for that. From there, you do a Force Sweep, and then lastly, I do a Blaze Storm. That is your main rotation. I like to do Blaze Storm last because it's a ranged ability. It goes up to 10 meters. Everything else is in that 4 meter range. So if they start getting away from you, which they normally do, the Blaze Storm is going to hit them from there. Alright, and then from there, you just kind of rinse and repeat, watching what comes off cooldown. You could force stasis them, force push them, leap in and start your rotation. That's also very viable as well. When it comes to interrupts, your kick ability is free and it's off the global cooldown. You should be kicking and interrupting a lot. Alright, only 8-second cooldown. If you see a chaos bar, you interrupt it, period. Other makeshift interrupts, of course, your all ability. Your force stasis is kind of an interrupt. You can use that accordingly, and your force push too. Alright, now speaking of global cooldown, your kick and your taunts and riposte are not on the global cooldown, meaning any other move, when you cast them, they automatically takes a second half till you can do something else. The global, when not respecting the global cooldown, kick you can do in the middle of another move. You can taunt, AoE taunt or single target taunt in the middle of another move, and same thing with riposte. The only thing you cannot interrupt would be your Master Strike and your force stasis. You inputting a command, it's going to interrupt them just like moving. So be conscious of that, but use the kick ability while you're doing other moves. Same thing with taunting. It's very important to taunt. It helps your teammates out. It's also free medals. It's very tanky, but in this DPS spec you also have a little bit of protection as well, which is actually quite nice. Now, offensive and defensive cooldowns. Your offensive cooldowns are pretty much your relics and your adrenals. You should be running with a might stem, a strength stem all the time. I'm biochem, so I have reusable stems. I also run with a fortitude for when I pick the ball up in hut ball. But those are the 2 adrenals, that stems you're going to use. You should be using a power adrenal or the expertise adrenal from the Warzone vendor. You ideally want to align them, meaning you use your relic and your adrenal together. When I use my relic and adrenal, that's almost 900 extra power for 15 seconds. That's what makes the burst, incredibly strong. My big thinking on offensive cooldowns in PvP is you use them as soon as they're up, because you don't know when you're going to get CC'd or something's going to happen. All right, but again, you want to align these two right here is what you're ideally looking to do. Now, defensive cooldowns, you've got focus defense. I love this move every 45 seconds. I use it all the time. Be aware, though, it does rob you of focus as it's healing you for the 10 seconds, once a second. So be mindful of that. If you pop focus defense, a lot of times you're going to pop combat focus with it to give you the extra focus to burn. But that's one of your defensive cooldowns. Saber Ward, 3-minute cooldown, awesome ability, long cooldown, but the first 2 seconds when this thing is active, you 100% parry everything. It's almost like a free oh crap button. After that, you get modified 50% chance to melee to parry things, and you also get less damage taken. I do not like to overlap these cooldowns if I can help it. I usually like to cycle one or the other. I love to cycle Saber Ward when somebody opens on me. If you time it right, you can nullify the third strike of a Master Strike or the big 4-sweep crits. So it's very good to use. If you use them both together, that's okay too, but that's more of like a panic situation. And of course, your med pack and your are also healing abilities, and yours kind of a false heal, but it gives you 30% more heal. I like to utilize them together. I'll use them, usually puts the hit points up about 23k-ish. From there, I go and pop the Resolute, heals me for 2,300. Then afterwards, a lot of times I like to Guardian Leap to a fellow teammate. That'll heal me for 8% of my current health with your 2-piece set bonus. That's a nice little healing burst, if you will. All right, so those are your offensive and defensive cooldowns. As far as targeting is kind of a mess in this game in some respects, but here is how I target. Now, the first way you can target is you can click on these targets individually. It's great for PvE, but in PvP with everyone moving around, it's very difficult to click target. I do not like to rely on that. It's very situational, is when I click target. I only do it when I have to. By default, your tab button is a target next enemy. So I hit it once, it targets the direction I'm facing, usually the closest enemy. I hit it a second time, it targets another enemy. Another time, it targets an enemy after that. All right. So you can of course tab target through everything, which is really good. That's one of your targeting buttons. Your second targeting button is your escape button. When I hit it, it clears my target, which is very important. A lot of times, if somebody gets away from you and it's like, crap, I want to get this person next to me, and I'm targeting them, just hit escape. You automatically clear all your target. All right. Be careful though, if you hit escape too many times, this happens. You got to hit one more time. The third button I'm going to recommend for targeting is your function 1 through function 4 buttons. I keybound function 1 to target nearest enemy. It's under your key bindings. You can find it as targeting. F1, bam, whoever the closest enemy is to me is who it targets. This is very good in a PvP situation, in the hectic mess that goes on, because a lot of times there's somebody right next to you, the hut ball carrier, or somebody on node you're trying to target. Basically, I hit escape to clear target, or I just hit F1. F1, it will automatically target my nearest target. Now be careful, because that means the person behind you, if they're the closest to you, it's going to target them as well. All right. Now those are pretty much my enemy targeting. I don't use any other buttons. Tab target, cycle through all these enemies. Escape, clear it, F1, target nearest enemy. Or you can just tab target and then hit F1 to target nearest enemy. You don't have to use F1. I find it works well for me, just where it's located. You can use any button, but make sure you keybind it to a button that's easy to get. All right. And the other targeting I do is I do a targeting nearest friend, which is underneath your key bindings and your targeting. It will automatically target the nearest person to you, which in this case is Doc. Really great to hit that button, which for me it's F2, and then I can Guardian Leap to that person on the fly. It will target the closest person to you, whether it's in front of you or behind you. So those are my targeting buttons. Tab target, cycle through enemies, escape, clear them, F1, target nearest enemy, F2, target nearest companion. I'm sorry, nearest friendly player is how that works. That kind of helps to solve your targeting issues. Now, there's certain moves with this spec that work very well together, and you should always try and utilize that. One move is your focus defense, like I mentioned, and then popping your combat focus to give you spare focus to burn as you're getting yourself heals. Those moves work very well together. Obviously, saber throw into a leap works very well together, then right into a master strike. Okay, you should play with different combinations until you find one that really works well for you. Also, after you do plasma brand and overhead slash, you got all your dots ticking on them. Picking them up into a force stasis is nice too, because now force stasis is going to tick on them, all your dots tick on them. You can hold them there till they get low in health and dispatch them afterwards. So those things work very well together. You should always look for little combinations that work well together. All right. Okay, let's talk about our attack range. Now, all your melee moves are in the 0 to 4 meter range. This is 4 meters. Understand this, recognize this range. All your melee moves will hit this far away, including Master Strike. Now, some of your moves are 0 to 10 meter range, okay? 10 meters is here. These moves, of course, are your Force Stasis, Force Push, Blade Storm, and your Dispatch. They'll work that far away. That's your 10 meter range. So really get used to this distance. And of course, Saber Throw, Force Leap, and Guardian Leap are 10 to 30 meter ranges. All right. But again, this is your melee range, what you're trying to shoot for. You can do your melee moves this far away. Do your Freezing Force as needed to get back in melee range. Now, with respect to your rotation, I picked a controlled environment here so we can go over and look at it. Here's your rotation. Saber Throw with the opener. You leap in, you blow cooldowns. From there, do a full Master Strike. After that, I'm going to get CC'd, no big deal, I get free focus, Plasma Brand, Overhead Slash. From there, Sundering, Build Focus, Force Sweep, Blade Storm. And that is your rotation. As things come off cooldown, you insert them accordingly. So from there, as I'm watching my cooldowns, when they come off, I'm automatically using them. I'm going to Guardian Leap away, Force Leap back. It's really good to do that to get the healing bonus and the attack bonus from your 2 and 4 piece set bonuses. And then there, just keep your rotation up. I did a Master Strike, I did a second one in a row because it procced from my Zen Strike, so I was able to get 2 Master Strikes off. I've got plenty of focus, just keep the rotation going, keep the pressure up is all that you're doing. So I'm watching my cooldown timers and attacking accordingly. I'm going to Guardian Leap back out, he gets too close, I'm going to Force Push him to create space, leap back in, keep that rotation going. It's all about Master Strike, Plasma Brand, Overhead Slash, Dispatch, when it comes up immediately, obviously. Force Stacing him, look at the dots rolling off him, very nice. Then I'm going to Master Strike him. Dispatch came up, I'm going to hit him with that. He stuns me, I got full focus. I'm going to all real quick to control that guy. Back on my target, and again, dispatching using my priority list from there. Alright, so that is your rotation. Dueling dailies is a great way to practice this. That's how you get good at PvP quickly, by doing PvP, then practicing on your dailies. So I'm taunting him, I'm guarding leaping away. I'm going to line of sight him. That's going to force him to come to me. It doesn't work out like I planned because Doc C sees him. Understand line of sighting too. You put something in between you and the target, they can't see you, it forces them to come to you. Alright, so from here, Saber Throw, leap in, start my rotation just like before. Plasma Brand, Overhead Slash, I did Sundering. It's okay to do Plasma Brand, Overhead Slash back to back. It's a nice little burst if you have the focus. And of course, you can always do an Overhead Slash before Plasma Brand, is also very viable. Now I'm running in here, no focus. Focus dead. Immediately do a Sundering into a Master Strike. He knocks me back. I'm going to Force Sweep, building focus. Melee real quick. Sunder. Bam. Right there I go into my rotation. Plasma Brand, and just keep meleeing and Sundering in between when I don't have enough focus to keep my rotation up. Alright, so even if you get caught with your pants down and your focus dead, do your Sundering first, maybe even a Force Sweep to get that instant 3 focus. From there, you're going to get focus as you get hit. I Guardian Leap out, leap back in. Now my rotation is just like it was in the previous video. Alright. So from here, I'm just going to keep watching cooldown timers. Remember cooldown timers, set them up in your preferences menu too. That's very, very good. And with respect to Blade Storm, ideally you want to do a Blade Storm after a leap to make it free, and then furthermore after the Plasma Brand or Overhead Slash to make it almost a guaranteed crit via your talents. Alright, so from here I'm just going to keep doing the same thing, just laying into him, watching my rotation, prioritizing Master Strike, Dispatch, prioritizing Blade Storm, Overhead Slash, and prioritizing my Plasma Brand. I'm not using F2, I am clicking there because it'll target that friendly player behind me. Alright, so I'm gonna end the video here. I'm gonna make a part 2 with PvP video clips that continues right where we left off here, so we can look at applying all these things that we talked about in the next video. Alright, but again, it's very important to understand these basic things. Applying them well is what makes you a good player. So understand them, utilize them, practice your dailies. That's a good spot to get some extra money. So I will see you guys in part 2. Ooh, got a purple, nice.